Good afternoon. I'm Guy Filippelli. I'm the CEO of Red Owl Analytics. And while I'll talk to you for a couple seconds at one point about Red Owl, I really want to focus on telling the story of the journey that brought me here. And that journey starts back in 1987 with my first computer that my dad bought for me as a 12-year-old kid. Now, my dad was a throwback guy. He was not into computers, hated them, didn't know what they did, and wanted to take me to the lumber store and the hardware store every weekend, and I hated it. And I think out of frustration, my father finally said, "What do you do with this kid?" And he bought me this computer. And it really, in hindsight, was a really fundamental moment for me. Only eclipsed by the next big moment where my dad swooped into my life. When I was 17 years old, and I got a letter from one of the many college letters that you receive when you're applying to schools, and it was from the United States Military Academy. And my father never cared. He just dumped letters on the table for me from all these colleges. I did well on the PSATs or whatever it was. But one day I came home, there was this neatly folded envelope where it was open and propped up, and I said, "Do you want me to check this out?" And he said, "Yeah, well, I could take work off. We could go to the event and check it out." And this was really strange for my father. So I said, "Sure." So we went to this event. We heard this guy talk about West Point. My father was fixated on the presenter. And I couldn't take my eyes off my dad. So it's the only place I applied because he was my hero. And I just knew that if it was that important to him and he felt that strongly about it, his feelings I trusted. And so I went into the Army. Interestingly enough, I was not a good cadet. I really struggled. I hated it the first 2 years, and I begged, and I really struggled with this. My dad really worked me through staying at West Point. And all I wanted to do was get out of the Army, get back to computer science. And because I knew that as an Army officer, so I just said, well, I'll do 5 years in the Army, and then I'll get out. And then this happened. I was a young Army officer coming back from Korea, heading to Germany, and this crazy event, changed a lot of our lives. I didn't know how at the time it was going to change mine, but I had a feeling about it. Then I met this guy, Keith Alexander, now director of the NSA. At the time, he was an Army 2-star. And here I was, an Army officer, biding my time the last 4 years before I could get out and go back into computer science. And this guy comes over to Germany and he makes this speech and he says, "We're looking for a group of young Army officers who can run some special teams, where we're going to take computer science programmers and pair them up with analysts, and we're going to fight the information war. And we're going to change the way the military processes information. We're going to change the way that intel supports the warfighter." And I happen to have that background. So that launched me in a couple of places. The first was, for 6 years, I ran software teams in Germany, in Afghanistan. And in Afghanistan, I worked with amazing guys like Chief Warrant Officer Mark Delarocco, who really, the two of us, we took a team of software engineers over there, and we focused on changing the way the military did things, from detainee processing to building software applications for provisional reconstruction teams. And then in 2007, I teamed up with my West Point classmate, actually my West Point plebe, if anybody knows what that means, 2 years younger than me, but Nick Hallam, and we decided let's do this for real. Let's build a company around this. And so we started on this mission of building the best company we could in the world. And so we built a software company that was going to support the warfighter downrange. I will tell you that in 2006, 2007, our first job, we got a contract to support the military. We went to Baghdad and we spent 11 months sitting in a van, and I was writing software and running tech teams. And we really, I could say this in partnership with the NSA, we fundamentally changed the way that agency supported the warfighter. It was because General Alexander had an incredibly clear vision about turning the power of national collection and focusing on the warfighter. And any of my infantry colleagues or special forces colleagues, recall the support that was received during that time. I was so lucky to be at the center of that as one of the people that was influential there. And then for the next 5 years, basically from 2005 to 2000, or 2006 to 2011, Nick and I said, well, let's make that into a company. And so really for the next 6 years, we started off, we've now created, that single company, Barrico Technologies, evolved into 5 companies. Last year, I think if you add them up, there were about 400 people, software engineers, mathematicians, former military officers, former military enlisted analysts, operators, and it's really just been an incredible thing to watch. We evolved from running a company to seeding companies. We seeded a company that many people in this room actually have touched, which aimed to put iPhones and Androids on the battlefield. We helped seed a company that got involved in goggles. And we helped seed a company that aimed to reinvent the way analysis was conducted on the battlefield. And so finally, just last year, I took a step back and said, all right, I'm ready to get my hands dirty again. And I launched a company called Red Owl Analytics. And so with Red Owl, it's about taking that same passion for data and analytics and applying it to the corporate sector. And I'll just give you a 10-second preview of this. But what we're doing is we're taking all the information that gets produced inside the firm that we truly believe is right now a liability for most corporations. And we have this vision about turning it into an asset. And so by taking all this digital exhaust of the firm, processing it, applying math, visualizations, statistics, reports, turning this into something that revolutionizes the way that banks on Wall Street essentially conduct oversight of their own people, performance management, investigations, et cetera. And so that's what we're doing with Red Owl. We're doing it in Baltimore, Maryland, which is an awesome city. We've got a small team here in New York, and that's our journey. So it all started with this guy, my dad. I will tell you that unfortunately I lost him along the way. He got to see me graduate, but I look back at the decisions he made. I look back at that first computer, and I look at that request for me to go to West Point, and I think, I think of him every day, and I think how proud he'd be. But I think, who would have thought that with those kind of decisions I'd be where I am today? So that's my story. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.